Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for joining me. I'm back from vacation, and boy, what a couple of weeks it's been. Before I go to all the other news, I want to begin with our special guest from Israel. Amit Segal is the senior analyst with Channel 12 in Israel. I like to say he's a combination of reporter and analyst and anchor. I believe the anchor is Meet the Press in Israel. He's sort of like analyst and Meet the Press in Israel. Amit, welcome to the Hugh. Great to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Hugh. Thank you very much from Jerusalem.
Well, I would like to begin with a very important question. Does anyone worry at all about any of Iran's nefarious allies, China, Russia, North Korea, coming to the aid of Iran at this point?
As far as I know, because there were many rumors, as far as I know, most of it is the rest is premature. I don't think it's happening, and the assumption in Israel and in the US is that it's off the table.
That's great news. Yeah. China got involved in the North Korean campaign when the Norks were getting close to being knocked out. North Koreans showed up in Russia last year. Have you talked to anyone about it? Has it come on as a potential red flare?
Not to North Koreans so far, but from what I see now, Iran is in such a desperate situation that even Hezbollah, its proxy, sent an email announcing that it would not join defending the Ayatollah regime. So does Russia. Today, an expert in Russia said that the relationship between Russia and Iran is not as close for Putin to actually get involved. So right now, it's not a serious option.
All right. Amit, I have listened twice to your conversation with Dan Senor this morning. It dropped in the morning in the United States. I've read your column in the Free Press. I read your It's Noon in Israel every day. So I've got a lot of background on what you were thinking in the last 24 hours, but our audience doesn't. So I'd like you to explain, if you could, sort of the order of battle in the way that the IDF rolled this out, beginning with the attack on the air defenses, then the missiles, then the attack on the military leadership, then the nuclear program, then the scientists. It all kind of happened at once, didn't it?
It's one of the most amazing coordinated attacks in the history of warfare. It's a combination of the pager attack of Israel, the drone attack by Ukraine last week, and the sort of surprise attack made by many countries in the past, all combined simultaneously by 100 planes, covert Mossad agents, hidden bombs, etc. Right now, as far as I analyze the situation, I would say, and sorry for using a soccer metaphor because it's an American audience, but I'm not very strong with football or baseball, that we are beating Iran 5-0 in the 92nd minute, and all their players have left. All their players have left is to try to injure our players. I mean, they can no longer win the game. They can no longer win the match. They can just injure ours. That's what they are doing in targeting civilians in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, and Haifa.
Well, the extent of my football knowledge, European style, is Ted Lasso. But doesn't that mean that you could send in your own people and injure their players by blowing up Karg Island or the port?
Yes, we can do it. And that's why I think Iranians are in deep troubles, and I'll explain why. All they can do is to fire ballistic missiles towards the Israeli strategic sites and towards civilians. But they have limited scope, limited number of ballistic missiles. They have had 2,000 when it began. Now they have, let's say, 1,500 ballistic missiles. The pace was 75 a night, and it goes down every single night because the Israeli Air Force attacks the launchers and the ballistic missiles on a daily basis. So they have something like 2 weeks before they are run out of ballistic missiles. While Israelis can attack their oil and gas industry, eliminate 85% of the Iranian economy, eliminate Ayatollah Khamenei, the leader of the Muslim Republic of Iran, attack the besieged and the army, many things that we haven't touched so far. So, in my opinion, it's not that they are going to have it's not going to be a very smart idea to keep going it.
Before I go to the nuclear program, I want to ask you about cyber attacks. Iran was supposed to be pretty good at that. Have you been alerted to any cyber attacks that have been successful on Israeli infrastructure? And do you know if Israel has done anything in that domain of war to Iran?
Yes. So first of all, the digital war with Iran began on October 7th, 2023. What we have seen since the beginning of the war in Gaza is an Iranian effort, an effort of the Iranian axis aimed at Israeli infrastructure. Most of it failed, but it gave Israelis time to actually practice and improve. Whereas what we see now in terms of the Israeli digital war is something that we've never seen before. We do see things that haven't been done in the past. I'll give you just one example. There are ships in the Hormuz Bay that actually report interference, and it is not done
Ah,
by Iranians.
I see. I haven't seen any reports on that yet. There is a report out of Iran that they have downed an F-35. I am skeptical. Have you heard that report? Do you believe it?
It's the fourth report about the fall of F-35. It's not. It's definitely not the case. I just want to give you one example of the surprise attack Israel has made. Israel summoned, but using cyber attacks, Israel summoned the 20 most senior commanders of the Iranian Air Force to a secret meeting held in a specific headquarters in Tehran, and then Israel attacked the place and killed them simultaneously. This was used by Israeli superiority in both digital things, intelligence, etc. So it might give you an answer. All they have got is all they have left with is the fake news about the F-35.
Now, Amit Segal, I'm not sure you want to kill Khamenei because if he's running the war, he's the worst war leader ever. Do you suppose he is as infirm as one would expect an 86-year-old dictator to be, and perhaps not as well informed by his sycophants as one leader, a war leader, would want to be by his generals and his military commanders?
Yeah, I'll give you one quote made by a top Israeli intelligence officer only an hour ago. I reported about it, and he said as follows: He said that Ayatollah Khamenei is weak and in a difficult mental state, and he said that everyone who worked with him is dead, and he's having a hard time with the replacements. So it's
Huh.
exactly you touched the point. The point is Ayatollah Khamenei, who was well known for his negotiation skills, made a fatal error that no one in the Middle East understands and understood in real time. You come to negotiate with President Trump, whom you had tried to assassinate just a few months before, and you do not compromise? Where are the famous negotiation Iranian skills that we have known from the bazaar in Tehran? They gave
Yeah.
Trump the ultimate power to actually decide to let Israel attack Iran. So now here's the question: is the symbolic achievement better than letting this weak, stubborn, old leader of Iran to keep managing very badly the situation in Iran?
And I think it is. I don't know you can do better. I don't know how you could do worse with someone who had uh, at least vigor, some kind of energy level. Amit Segal, I want to
Yes.
touch on a technical thing. You just referred to the war beginning on 10/7. I call it the 10/7 long war in Israel. Some people in the United States are referring it to the Israel Iran war. If anything, if it's other than 10/7 war, it's the Iran Israel war because Iran struck first in April. Am I correct? April of 2024 and a second time in October of 2024. Is that how do you refer
Exactly.
to it for shorthand?
So October 7th actually was the first part of the big plan made by Iran to destroy Israel, both from ground invasions from Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and then rockets, and then Iran with nuclear bomb. Now, here's the thing. Israel never done what it did on June 13, 3 days ago,
Well,
unless
Amit, hold on for a
October
second. That
7th.
music means I got to go to a break and come right back. I'm coming right back with Amit
No
Segal
problem.
of Channel 12 in Israel. Stand by, America. Morning glory and evening grace, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. This is part 2 of my interview with Amit Segal, taped just before the program went live today, because Mr. Segal is one of Israel's top analysts. He is on Channel 12. He writes It's Noon in Israel, a newsletter you ought to get every single day. He's often a guest with Dan Senor on the indispensable Call Me Back podcast. And he wrote a great piece in the Free Press over the weekend on the 30-year conflict between Bibi Netanyahu and the supreme leader, in quotation marks, of Iran, because he's not leading much right now except disaster, Ayatollah Khamenei. Amit, when we went to break in the first hour, you were saying the war began on 10/7. How are you going to refer to it? How are Israelis going to refer to it?
So I think the most crucial day was April 14, 2024. Iran retaliated or tried to revenge the killing of one of its senior officers in Damascus. And then it made the devastating mistake of attacking Israel directly. The Iranian policy so far was to actually use proxies, not to have Israeli blood on their hands. But when they were dragged to attack Israel, what they did was actually they did two things. One was to actually break the barrier of fear that actually threatened Israel for many, many years, because Israel saw that it can actually handle a direct attack of ballistic missiles from Iran. And the second thing is the recognizing the fact that this showdown, this face-off is actually inevitable. And that was the reason why the clock started ticking on April 14, 2024.
Now, Amit, I heard you say to Dan Senor this morning that the prime minister, in his previous iterations of being prime minister, had 4 times gone to the Israeli military and said, I want to attack Iran, and 4 times they said, we can't do it, we don't want to do it. This time they green-lighted it, and of course President Trump either explicitly or implicitly green-lighted it. What changed?
So what changed was the fact that prior to the war, Iran used Hezbollah and Hamas as its human shields. AKA, if Israel was to attack the Iranian nuclear program, Hezbollah and Hamas would fire at Israel dozens, thousands of rockets, thus threatening the very existence of the country. But following the horrible massacre of October 7th, Israel had to eliminate Hamas, later on to eliminate Hezbollah as a threat. And now Iran is exposed. Iran is naked. That is the dramatic thing that has changed.
What's also changed is that they apparently can't guide their missiles very well, their ballistic missiles. To your knowledge, has Dimona, the very sensitive site at Dimona, been targeted and they missed, or do they just not have the capacity to target anything within 5 miles?
They have the capacity. Their warfare goes as follows. They know that Israel has the most sophisticated anti-missile system on earth, combined with the American protection and the British and even the French all together. So in order to overcome it, they must outnumber it. They must fire 50, 60 ballistic missiles aimed at a specific point. Now, that was the ability at the beginning of the war, but then they didn't want to actually escalate more than they could. Now, I'm not sure they have the ability. You see, for instance, tonight, they began with 175 ballistic missiles on the first night of the war. 2 nights ago, it was 100. Last night, it was 75. And tonight, it's, I think, 3 so far. Israel is destroying the launchers and the ballistic missiles in Tehran. It just raids it. Thanks to the full superiority of the Air Force, they just hunt down each and every ballistic missile and each and every ballistic launcher they see. Now, it doesn't mean that the Iranians don't have the capacity, but their capacity and their ability is decreasing any moment.
So, I mean, I also have told the audience before weaponization to get to a nuclear bomb requires three phases: enrichment, conversion, weaponization. I know that the enrichment facilities, two out of the three, have been destroyed, but Fordo has not been, to my knowledge. Do you have an update on that?
Right. Okay, so Fordo is very important in terms of the enrichment. If you destroy Fordo, you actually eliminate the enrichment industry in Iran that have been built for the last 25 years. Now, Fordo is very isolated. It's under the ground, 90 meters under the ground. So there are two options. One, the quickest one and the most efficient is to have an American B-2 taking a tour in Iran and putting and firing two bombs, thus eliminating the site of Fordo. The second, which is more difficult and more complicated, is to do it with Israeli forces. I don't want to go into details because it's a matter of national security. But Israel has the ability to actually harm, to actually damage the site in Fordo, if not 100%, so I would say 50, 60, 70%.
I mean, I also heard you tell Dan Senor this morning that the Israeli war plan is in day 7 or 8 now, even though it's only been 3 days. Is that accelerating? Are they going to run out of targets?
Not really, because Iran is a huge country, 10 times the size of Israel, 10 times the size of New Jersey, for instance. It's more Texas than Rhode Island. So there are many, many targets. But as far as it concerns to the ballistic missile program and the nuclear program, so yes, there is a limited number of targets. I guess that in a week from now, Israel can actually finish the job.
Now, I mean, long ago, there was an Indian viceroy by the British Raj by the name of Lord John Spencer, and he practiced a policy called masterly inactivity. Lord Salisbury picked it up. He used it for 20 years in the late 19th century. I think Donald Trump is practicing masterful ambiguity and has been marvelous in doing so, to use a word that you used to Dan Senor. How do most Israelis view President Trump's conduct over the last week?
I think they are very happy he took the right decision. People in Israel were very worried a few weeks ago when it seemed as if he's tired of, not of Israel, because he's still a staunch supporter of Israel, but tired of trying to actually connect Israel to the Middle East. So he had a tour in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the Emirates. Israel did not exist there. But now when we see how he green-lighted the Israeli attack, and we get hints of even deeper involvement of the U.S. in this war, I think the level of support for President Trump in Israel is higher than ever. I would say that even prior to this, if Israel was to be the 51st state of the United States, it was something between Alabama and Montana, a very, very solid red state in the United States.
So, Amit, is there any way for Iran to surrender, to cry uncle, to raise a white flag? Could they blow up Fordo themselves, and that would be a signal to the Israelis that they're out of the game of trying to build the bomb to destroy the Jewish state?
I don't think they're going to do this directly, but here is the thing. Here is the dilemma of the Ayatollah. On one hand, he wants a Muslim Shia Persian empire. And on the other hand, he wants to preserve his regime. Now, here's the problem for him. The nuclear bomb was aimed at creating an empire, but making the regime survive as well. So now the US and Israel tell him, give up your dream of an empire in the Middle East. So give up your nuclear program. But if he gives up the nuclear program, it necessarily means that he's weaker at home, thus, under the risk of losing it. So what I think we are going to see is an Iranian offer of freezing the project for a few years and trying to actually freeze it without it being frozen to death. If you ask me what is going to happen, it can happen, but then the regime would collapse in a few months.
Amit Segal, we're out of time. I just want to thank you for the Dan Senor interview, for your piece in the Free Press, which is marvelous, and for your daily newsletter. I hope more people go and find. I've posted it at hughhewitt.com. I'll do so again. It's noon in
Thank
Israel.
you
Absolutely
so
indispensable.
much.
Amit Segal, I hope you come back.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you, Amit. Thanks, everyone. I'll be right
Thank
back.
you.
Don't go anywhere.
Bye-bye.
It's the Hugh Hewitt Show.